can you talk about any bills that you've been sponsoring? And let us know how things are going in DC.
Well, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, I'll take the mic.
Thank you, Representative Salee. Thank you, Representative. I just want to say our representatives, again, are fighting for tooth and nail in Washington, D.C., and you heard it from Rashida. We have to act. We have to get their backs. We have to have our voices join their voices in D.C. for us to get the things that we need. So now we're going to hear from our advocacy groups. We want to hear from the priorities that they are bringing. So first, we want to hear from Tamara Blue from SCIE Michigan on long-term health care. Next up, we're going to hear from Adonis Flores from Michigan United on immigration.
All right.
So next up, we're going to hear from Lokeisha O'Neill from Detroit Action, thinking about housing and flooding.
Hi, everybody. I'm here, I'm angry, but I'm also here today to make sure my voice be heard.
Need these issues addressed now, and we have no time to wait. So please, please get involved in advocacy. If you've ever thought about making your voice heard, now is the time, because there's no more time left to wait. And I'm going to pass it on to Rosalind.
Thank you. I want to uplift and say thank you for our dynamic Congresswomen and the work that they do. First, let's pause. So my name is Rosalind M. Ogburn. I am dedicated member to Sierra Club for the state chapter and also their political national team, and also the Detroit Water team. As they asked me to present a story, for those that don't know me, I also have an intersectionality with housing impact and stabilizing our communities also, and been an organizer for over 20 years. But yesterday occurred, August 11th. I had the opportunity to be a representative and also a chaperone at a youth tour for Summer Freedom Youth Tour 2021. And it was a team of 14 youth. And we did a environmental tour throughout the city, making multiple stops. Very informative, but it was focused on the red, black, green New Deal, right? Focusing on the policies we're talking about right now, but focusing specifically on Black and brown communities and how we've been displaced towards funding and equity, right? So we started at the 8 Mile Walls, went to Gardens, and ended up at Kensington Park with our dynamic Congresswoman, talked to the youth. But guess what? We know there's clouds behind us, right? The young lady, she was like, Jordan, let's go. We see the clouds. We boarded the bus. As we got on the freeway, the rain came. The children had a very beautiful day, right? 5 minutes in, they get quiet. They're like, are we about to be stranded on the freeway? Yeah, is the freeway about to flood? What are we gonna do if that occurs? You're like, calm down, it's okay. It's draining, we can still see the white lines.
I don't calm down.
But the reality is we went from a beautiful day to hitting the freeway and rain occurs and now fear is imminent, right? I think my beautiful sister Rokeisha said, now we got STD when the rain comes, right?
Yes.
TDS, thank you.
DBS, it's okay.
Wrong letters, thank you. Real comedy in there real quick, right? Oh, yeah. So we make it home safely. We do all the drop-offs, right? To find out that all our power is out.
Wow.
As of right now. And the numbers are increasing, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Not increasing and restoring.
Yes.
Increasing on depleting power.
Yes.
So I don't want to replicate the conversation, or we know we need new infrastructure for streets, roads, bridges, and piping. But we also must focus on the green implementation and the transition, right? We need renewable implementations, right? Because if we had an opportunity to transition from the grid right now to do Pacific, implementations towards renewables, solar, water. I think we were even just saying geothermal, but they're not allowing us as black and brown communities in Wayne County and Detroit to have accessibility to those resources. So this is why we need funding. This is why we must have the conversation and change the vernacular to not just infrastructure, but green infrastructure, natural aesthetics in our communities. So this is why this conversation and the funding is supported towards our congressional funding and making sure information and knowledge is presented. And I also want to uplift the economic capacity of this. If we bring the training to our communities, we can sustain ourselves. We can learn it, implement it, and sustain it. But what we demand is the funding and the infrastructure. So we ask you all to join us as an environmentalist, but I actually show up as a mother. If we don't have clean access to clean water and to bring down our carbon imprint in our communities, Congresswoman Dingell said, we must transition over to the carbon imprint for our vehicles by 2030 now. Like he said, all the environments, all week we've been buzzing. We went from 2050 to literally 2035. So like I told the children, that's 14 years from now.
Yes.
If we don't make a transition to clean energy, clean water, and make sure our access to clean air. So we must make the transition, we must have the funding, and we must jump on board. So I thank you all. My name is Rosalind M. Ogburn, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk about what I love and to protect my future. Bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Ogburn. I want to thank all of our leaders here from our advocacy groups. We heard from our congresswomen about the priorities that they're discussing in DC. We heard about water infrastructure, care infrastructure. We even had human infrastructure brought up. There's so many other priorities that we're discussing and lifting here. Congresswoman, what are your reactions to the stories of the leaders of these advocacy groups and the priorities that they've lifted? As you came in today, you saw signs that say, we can't wait for. And then there were Sharpies for you to write in what you can't wait for. This is your opportunity to put your story in writing, to put your face on these issues, because we're coming to speak to you. We need you to lift up your stories, to join the voices of our congressmen. Representative Tariq, what do you think would be the biggest challenge to get care priorities through the reconciliation process? We're getting short on time. I'm going to skip over to the last question because this is one of the questions that Representative Dingell has gone hard on. Representative Dingell, can you talk about why electric vehicle infrastructure is such an important piece to us getting through the climate crisis? So you've heard it from our congresswomen more than once, that we need you to act. We need you to act. We talked about social media, we talked about putting a human face. I want you to grab a sign. I want you to write on there what you can't wait for. And to stand outside and give your story. These are the stories that our representatives need to take to DC with them. When they talk to their colleagues about our priorities, like you said, okay, sure. But let us show up in DC and tell our stories. They're listening because now we have our congresswomen's jobs. So we passed out call to action sheets to each of you. We need you to call your senators. We know our senators are going to sign any bill that's put in front of them for reconciliation, but we need to go big and bold. Like Rashida said, when you've done little for so long or nothing for so long, you think it's okay just to give a little. It's not okay just to give a little. What we can't wait for is our lives. We cannot wait. I want each and every one of you to pick up one of these sheets. I want you to take pictures here. I want you to write your stories. If it's 150 characters, do it. If it's a long Facebook post, you do it. If you need to go live, do it. But we need your stories, your voice, your faces. Because when our representatives go to DC, and they see Debbie Dingle coming and they see Rashida Tlaib coming, the first thing they do is turn the other way and run. We need you. I want to thank our representatives for giving us your time. Thank the UAW 600 for providing the space. I want to thank each and everyone who's handled this and lifted up your stories and priorities here, because this is how we make a difference. Thank you.